In this week's New England fishing forecast video, we have a look at the April monthly issue of the Fisherman magazine, updates on the delay of opening trout season in Rhode Island, as well as the closure of all state beaches and state parks in the Ocean State, tiger trout in Connecticut, action on the East Bay, a look inside one of the herring runs, and much, much more.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Hi, Toby Lapinski from the New England edition of the Fisherman magazine with this week's web video fishing forecast for New England. As you can tell, I'm out on location. You probably hear the stream running in the background. Stopped off at one of the many herring runs in Connecticut that has finally filled in with herring. They got a couple thousand fish lifted in the lift behind me this week. I'll show you a live look inside the run, so stay tuned to the end of the video for that. But in the meantime, I want to let you know that the April issue of the Fisherman magazine is out this week, and if you're stuck inside perhaps and you want to check out the final installment, the annual plug building series by Dave Anderson. And this time around, Dave shows us how to make a giant jointed metal lip, which was designed by the late Charlie Cinto. As always, Dave intertwines both how-to with some background on the origins of the plug in question, seeking input from Charlie Cinto's good friend, Charley Soares, for this one. It's really cool. It's a gigantic metal lip plug, really neat, and I'd love to see if some of you all out there watching are able to make one of these, recreate it, and hopefully catch some fish on it this year. Now, if you're not a plug builder or you're just looking to fish right now, we got you covered too. Now, with blackfish season opening on April 1 in southern New England, we make another case for the use of a trolling motor to improve your success, and we talk about where you can find striped bass right now from New England through New Jersey. Now, as you're going to see, there's no computer-generated AI map used here. It is just solid, legitimate intel from those who have their feet on the ground and who are out there catching striped bass. So give it a look and get out on the fish right now. As I've talked about a couple of times over the last few months, we launched a kayak fishing tournament this year for subscribers of the Fisherman magazine, the Coastal Kayak Clash. And in the April issue of the Fisherman, we put together our annual kayak buyer's guide, spotlighting the latest and greatest kayaks, including paddle, and powered options for you. If you're ever thinking about getting into the world of kayak fishing, now is the time, as the market is filled with a ton of great boats at very reasonable prices. Now, this next one, I think we can file under the headline of "This is why we can't have nice things," as Rhode Island has officially closed all state parks and state beaches effective on April 3rd, and they also announced that the opening of trout fishing season, which was supposed to take place on April 11th, has been canceled. Now, this is in response to a recent rush of out-of-staters who have migrated to their summer homes in places like Cape Cod, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So the year-round residents in these coastal communities have been flooded with people trying to escape the coronavirus outbreaks in the major cities, ultimately likely adding to the spreading of the disease in these movements. Now, Rhode Island has gone as far as to institute a 14-day quarantine for anyone traveling in from out of state, and they've even enlisted the National Guard to assist in the enforcement. Now, while so far the state has indicated that non-trout stocked waters remain open to angling for the time being, they obviously urge everyone to maintain safe social distancing when participating in outdoor recreation so that the closure doesn't need to be extended further. And I urge people in other communities to heed this advice as well, because this is a direct result of too many people getting too close together trying to get out in recreational activities. There is word that there's going to be a update or modification, to the trout season, so it might be opened early, might be open late, not sure. Obviously, I'll pass along the details as soon as I get word, but in the very least, for right now, April 11th is no longer opening day of trout season in Rhode Island. And however, speaking of trout stocking, as I mentioned last week, or trout fishing, the state of Connecticut opened its trout fishing season early as a surprise to anglers, and they've been taking advantage of the fishing opportunity with some big trout being landed this week, like the 23-inch rainbow landed by my son, Aiden, on Monday afternoon. The state has also ramped up its stocking schedule, with trucks running practically day and night for more than a week now. A good friend of mine, Chris Wall, was out looking around for some trout this weekend. timed his stop at one of the local trout parks just right as he bumped into Dave Piera and Cody Lassard. They were depositing 1,500 trout into the trout park. So those are great places to go. But again, as I noted just a minute ago, if there's people around, practice safe social distancing. If you're at a spot and people start showing up, maybe give up your spot for someone else, for some kids to fish. Don't just set up camp and stay there. And if there's people there, please do not crowd them. We don't want to lose what we've got right now. And talking to that trout stocking that I just mentioned, the state of Connecticut, had planned to run a special tiger tamer trout promotion this spring, where anglers who landed a tiger trout would be eligible for a really cool special t-shirt to commemorate the catch. Now, if you're not familiar with a tiger trout, it's basically a cross between a brook trout and a brown trout, and they're characterized by these really cool, prominent tiger striping that goes down their sides. Now, tiger trout haven't been stocked in several years in Connecticut due to budgetary constraints, but this program is a direct result of that $5 trout stamp that we all pay in order to trout fish. So, for those of you who have been complaining about the stamp, not claiming you weren't seeing results, here you go, a direct result of the stamp, of which I completely support. Unfortunately, as with many things right now though, coronavirus has gotten in the way of this tiger tamer trout promotion, so the actual t-shirt giveaway is being delayed to the fall. However, they've still got a bunch of tigers which they're going to be stocking throughout the state. Now, they're not announcing where they're going to put in because they don't want people rushing to these spots and crowding them out and adding to the problem of non-social distancing. But they are placing them around the state, sort of like what Connecticut is doing. They were updating their stocking map daily. Instead, now they've bumped it to just Friday afternoons. This way the fish get stocked throughout the week. There's no mad dash every evening to those stocked spots. So again, just keep in mind social distancing when you're out there fishing and taking time on the beach and what have you. All right, now we've got a video contribution this week from TJ Kopecki. It's his first video submission of the year, talking about fishing over in the East Bay. And then when I come back, I'm going to get you a special look inside the river here.
Thanks, Toby. Hey guys, nice to be back to give you guys a video for the East Bay area in some of Bristol County, Massachusetts. First off, I just want to make sure that everyone's staying safe and practicing their social distancing while you're out there fishing. 6 feet apart, obviously, goes for anything right now, I believe. But I got some reports for you, specifically mainly freshwater. Some of the local ponds around here, some have been stocked, one here in Swansea, which I gave it a shot the other day, didn't catch anything. Was worth getting out there though, just to, pretty much get away from all this going on and my regular job. But there were lots of trout surfacing. I just didn't catch anything. Warren Reservoir, talked to a couple guys that were fishing there when I drove by, catching yellow perch, white perch, some nice chain pickerel in there, and a few bass. But we'll talk about the Palmer River in Swansea. I drove by the Bungtown Bridge last week. There was about 15 guys fishing in there, all fishing with night crawlers for some really actually good, nice, fat white perch that were in there moving up. And there were a couple of hickory shad caught in there too. I did see a couple of those caught. But getting back into the saltwater scene now, as we all know that April 1st is the opener for tautog season in Mass and Rhode Island. We can catch 3 fish, 16 inches long. And a couple of people have asked me, what are we going to do if the bait stores are closed for crabs? I did speak to Manny at Lucky Bait in Warren, and he's always good for a good conversation with me. He did say that the bait store is up and running, mostly doing licenses. They are practicing their social distancing in there. We did talk about bait, and he will have worms and he will have crabs by Friday of this week. But he does recommend that you call first just to verify that he does have that stuff. And you can reach Manny at the Lucky Bait store 7 days a week, 9 to 5. and just give them a call. They do have curbside pickup. Once you pull up, he said, all you have to do is call the number on the door and they will bring out whatever you want. I guess you can't go into the store just by the new rules that just came out. But he did also let me know that there was a first report of scup caught in Newport. And I just wanted to pass that on to anyone. I'm not sure if anyone else is trying to do any of that, but with the saltwater scene here, everything is coming into place. The ospreys are here, there's plenty of herring. It's just time for the stripers to get here, and hey, I hope everybody has some tight lines, and we'll keep you up to date in the East Bay area.
All right, thanks a lot, TJ. Really appreciate that. As always, if you'd like to contribute a video, report, what have you, to the weekly fishing reports here at thefisherman.com, you can get in touch with me at Lapinski@thefisherman.com, and I'll help you out with whatever you need to get started. So this week I'm going to leave you off with a little different video from normal. Going to take you live directly underwater at one of the herring runs here in Connecticut. So enjoy this little video clip, and I'll see you next week.